Okay, we'll get started. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name's Brian Gootkin. I'm the Gallatin County Sheriff. Here with me is the Regional Supervisor, Sam Sheppard from Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. This has not been a good day or a good week, but bear with me. We're going to go through and explain to you what we know. Please hold off on any questions until we're done, and then I will answer all of your questions to the best of my ability. Because it is our investigation, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks will not be answering any questions, so I just ask that you wait and you direct those questions to me. I have personally spoken with the family members to let them know exactly what I'm going to let you know, so they knew first. Last night at about 5 o'clock, we dispatch received a 911 hang-up call. They went ahead and contacted our deputies. They recognized where the number was coming from. It was from Fish and Game Warden, Captain Joe Knarr, or Sergeant Joe Knarr, excuse me. The 911 was a hang-up. They immediately tried to call the number back with no luck. Let our deputies know who the phone call came from, that it was a Fish and Game officer. So our deputies that were responding knew where they were going and knew who they were going to respond to, but that was all the information that they had. This was right around 5 o'clock yesterday evening. When our deputies arrived, they were able to get close enough to the house where they were able to see a body on the floor. They went around to the front of the residence. The residence was locked. Our deputies made the decision at that time to kick the front door in, which they did. Entered the residence and found both Joe Knarr and Jen Knarr dead on the ground in the dining room. Once they did that, obviously not knowing what else was going on in the residence, they immediately cleared the rest of the residence, and as they came back to the dining room, they realized that the 6-month-old baby was also in the dining room. Once we were able to secure the scene, our detectives arrived, and all of the information that I'm about to give you is specifically from our investigation and evidence that we retrieved on the scene. From everything that we can take from the evidence and where the bodies were located in the residence, it appears as though, and we are confident that Jen Knarr killed Joe Knarr, walked up behind him, shot him in the back of the head as he was sitting, walked around to the baby Daniel, shot Daniel and called 911, and then killed herself. We were able to go ahead and, like I said, contact family. We were able to go ahead and secure the crime scene, investigate, retrieve all of the evidence. The weapon that was used, we have confirmed, was Jen Knarr's Fish, Wildlife, and Park duty pistol. Once we were able to do that and collect all of the evidence, today we've taken Jen, Daniel, and Joe to the Missoula medical examiners. There's going to be a lot of questions, I'm sure, so one thing I want to do before we do that is thank all of our emergency responders. Incredible outpouring of support, law enforcement, all of our ambulance crews, our volunteer fire department that was right there. One thing that I forgot to tell you, and I apologize, was when we originally located Daniel, we weren't aware that he had passed away at that time and was shot. Our deputy did immediately try to take Daniel outside of the house and resuscitate along with one of our volunteer firemen, and that's when they realized that he had been shot and killed. So thanks again to all of the agencies, and I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is just the beginning of this. We have a lot more of this investigation to go. The family did ask me or wanted me to let people know that Jen had been struggling with postpartum depression, seriously. And it was every single family member that I talked to said the same thing. So what we're going to do is, to further our investigation, we're going to contact who she was seeing, what was happening, and try and put the pieces of the puzzle together. I think everyone in the community is going to say why. We don't know, and we may never know. So,
Really briefly, our prayers go out to the family and friends of those that we lost yesterday, especially our Fish, Wildlife, and Parks family and the local law enforcement community. We are all in shock and our hearts are broken. We'd like to express our deepest gratitude to the Sheriff's Office for their professionalism and kindness.
we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions.
How long were they with FWP?
Joe is with us for, as an FWP warden for 21 years, and Jen was a warden for 8.
Any other questions?
You mentioned it's been a rough couple days here in Bozeman. If you were to give a message, I guess, to the community, I guess what would that be?
We have an incredible community, and we're going to hurt, we're going to heal, and in my opinion, after looking at all of this, we need to get better as a community. And what I mean by that is dealings with mental health, with issues like postpartum depression, not just in Gallatin County, but this entire state. We need a plan. We need to, this unbelievable tragedies like this, if they are preventable, we better do everything we can to prevent them. Yes?
I mean, going through the call logs, there's hang-up calls, every day. What about this one caused you to respond to it in this way?
I think the biggest difference was the dispatchers recognized the phone number and that it belonged to Joe Knarr, and they know who Joe is because obviously they dispatch for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and that's why they immediately contacted our deputies that were en route on their cell phones, not over the radio, to let them know, so we knew what we were coming into. Other 911 calls, totally different, you just don't know you don't know who you're dealing with. Most of the time, sometimes you do. So. Yes?
Would you mind maybe spelling Joe and Jen's last name?
Yeah, Knarr.
I know that, you talk about your emotions, that it's hard for everybody in law enforcement. I mean, it's probably, with 21-year career, he probably knows a lot of people. It's affecting the community and especially the law enforcement community. Can you comment on that?
Sure, yeah, I've been doing this for 22 years, and there's certain calls that haunt you, and I guarantee you that this is one of those calls that will haunt not only members of the emergency community, but also our citizens in our community. It's just, we all scratch our heads and say why, and there's no answer. But it's tough. Definitely. One thing I will say is that we recognize that, especially with our employees and our deputies and really the entire emergency services family, and it doesn't just stop here. We have to make sure that they are taken care of because it's a traumatic situation. Even with us that deal with it on a daily basis, we still have hearts, we still hurt, and so we have to make sure that we take care of our folks too. So. Yes?
Do we think right now this is a directly affected because of her postpartum depression?
I'm not a doctor. The only thing I can tell you is every single family member that I spoke with said the same thing. And that's something that we will have a better answer to once we can find out who Jen was seeing and what type of care she was getting.
Do you have any sort of timeline for the investigation? I know it's kind of a tough question sometimes.
We're working on it as we speak. We're on it, and we are going to find out what we can as fast as we can.
Has there been a memorial plans at all yet? Or-
Not that I'm aware of. This was yesterday, so I think, right now I know that we're talking, after speaking with the family, we're trying to take care of the house and some of those types of things. And they're the ones, we will assist those families with everything that we can, both Fish and Wildlife, Parks, and us.
What was the weapon used exactly?
I believe it was a duty-issued SIG Sawyer 40 handgun, 40 caliber.
What role will FWP play in this investigation moving forward?
Really, I think right now, it's the sheriff's responsibility, so we'll continue with that investigation. One role that they have offered their assistance with is with some technology, with us being able to do some forensic examinations on computers, cell phones, to try and get a better idea of maybe some communications that will help us put the pieces of the puzzle together. But it's our responsibility.
You had also said Joe and Jen would be taken to Missoula Coroner's office. The baby, do you know where he will be taken?
All three. Daniel will
All
also,
three,
all
okay.
three of them are probably in Missoula as we speak, and it's not the Missoula Coroner's Office, it's the state medical examiner's office at the crime lab.
So the postpartum is kind of your main operating theory as to motive at this point?
That is the common theme from everyone involved, and it's different than other situations that we deal with, because these weren't only colleagues, these were friends, and these were good people. Sometimes we deal with people that are just flat evil, that want to hurt other people, and that wasn't the case in this case, and so we have to find out what was going on there. Yes?
I know it's probably hard to ask families about this, but what kind of reactions were you getting from families or maybe neighbors you were talking to?
Horrible. It was emotional and tough, but every single person that I talked to was strong, and every single one of them understood what happened, and I'm sure we'll be getting more phone calls and more questions as to the process, and more information that we get, we will make sure to communicate with them clearly and let them know everything that we know. Any other questions? And if anybody needs one-on-one interviews,